Who's the best blues singer of all time? If Janis Joplin was alive, would she still be making hits? Let us know in the comments below. I'm your host, CashApp, and this is a new segment on the channel we like to call After They Were Famous, where we discuss musicians, athletes, celebs, and everything they have going on. Today's episode is all about Janis Joplin. Janis Lynn Joplin was born on January 1943 and deceased on October 4th, 1970. She was an American singer-songwriter who sang rock, soul, and blues music. One of the most successful and widely known rock stars of her era, she was known for her powerful and electric stage presence and voice. She first rose to fame in 1967 when she had an appearance at the Monterey Pop Festival, where she was the lead singer of, at the time, a little-known San Francisco psychedelic rock band, Big Brother and the Holding Company. After she dropped 2 albums with the band, she left Big Brother to continue on as a solo artist with her own backing groups. First Cosmic Blues Band, and then Full Tilt Boogie Band. So let's take it back. She was born in Port Arthur, Texas. Her mom was a registrar at a business college, and her father was an engineer at Texaco. She had 2 younger siblings, but her parents felt like she needed more attention than the other children. They said that she befriended a group of outcasts who had albums by blues artists like Bessie Smith, Ma Rainey, and Lead Belly, whom Joplin later credited with influencing her decision to become a singer. While attending Thomas Jefferson High School, she began singing blues and folk music with her friends. Random enough, she was actually the classmate of Pro Football Hall of Fame coach Jim Johnson. Janis talked about how she was bullied in high school. She had really bad acne, which lead to acne scars that required dermabrasion. To be honest, I feel bad for her because during that time, technology is nowhere near what it is today. Kids in her high school would make fun of her because she liked to hang out with the black kids. Let's just, be aware of the time frame. So they would call her the in-lover or the creep. She said she was a misfit. I read, I painted, I thought. I didn't hate black people. After graduating from high school, she would go on to Lamar State College of Technology in Beaumont, Texas, and then later University of Texas at Austin. But she never finished, probably because that wasn't her destiny. While she was at UT, there was an article written about her titled, "She Dares to Be Different." It began by saying she goes barefooted when she feels like it, wears Levi's to class because they're more comfortable, and carries her auto harp with her everywhere she goes, so that in case she gets the urge to break into song, it would be handy. Her name is Janis Joplin. Moving right along, her first song, "What Good Can Drinking Do," was recorded in December 1962 at the home of a fellow University of Texas student. Soon after, she dipped out of Texas in 1963, found her way hitchhiking with her friend Chet Helms to North Beach, San Francisco. While she was in San Francisco in 1964, and future Jefferson Airplane guitarist Jorma Kaukonen, I totally butchered that name, recorded a number of blues standards, which incidentally featured the guitar player's wife using a typewriter in the background. Talk about good background noise. It included 7 tracks called The Typewriter Talk, Trouble in Mind, Kansas City Blues, Hesitation Blues, Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out, Daddy, 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 Long Black Train Blues, and it was released long after Joplin's death as the bootleg album, The Typewriter Tape. In 1963, Joplin was arrested in San Francisco for shoplifting. During the 2 years that followed, she started to increase her drugs and, pretty much got a reputation for being a speed freak and an occasional heroin user. She also used lots of psychoactive drugs, was a heavy drinker throughout her career, and her favorite alcoholic beverage was Southern Comfort. Her friends began to worry in May 1965. She started using methamphetamine, and pretty much they were like, look, Janis, you gotta go back to Port Arthur. After her friends raised the money for her bus fare, she took her little bags, packed it up, went back home to Port Arthur in 1965. Her parents said she weighed 88 pounds. Soaking wet. 88 pounds. That chick was skinny. She was like, look. She tried to avoid drugs, alcohol, adopted a beehive hairdo, and enrolled, here's the pivot, as an anthropology major at Lamar University. Fast forward 1966 through 1969, we get some legendary performances from Janis at the Monterey Pop Festival. As we know, the classic cutaway shots of the blues legends in the crowd enjoying her performing. Cass Elliot of the Mamas and Papas seated in the audience listening to Janis Joplin sing Ball and Chain. If you haven't checked out their reaction on the channel, be sure to do so. 1969, Janis decides to break away from the Big Brother and the holding company and go solo. The sad part about this, in 1969, she was allegedly shooting at least $200 worth of heroin per day, which is equivalent to anywhere from like $1,500 to $2,000 a day in today's time. It got worse and worse. She performed at Woodstock and apparently made the promoters wait 10 hours. They pushed bands in front of her and was like 3 shots of heroin high. Later on that year, she had a performance with Tina Turner at Madison Square Garden where she was apparently belligerently drunk. And you could tell where the story is going. On Sunday evening, October 4th, 1970, Joplin was found dead on the floor of her hotel room by her road manager and close friend, John Byron Cook. Alcohol was present in the room. Newspaper reported that no other drugs or paraphernalia were present, according to the 1983 book authored by Joseph DeMona in Los Angeles County Coroner Thomas Noguchi. Evidence of narcotics was removed from the scene by a friend of Joplin and later put back after the person realized that the autopsy was going to reveal the narcotics were in her system. The book adds that prior to Joplin's death, Noguchi had investigated other fatal drug overdoses in Los Angeles, where friends believed that they were doing favors for descendants by removing evidence of narcotics. Then they thought things over and returned them back and put in the evidence. Noguchi performed an autopsy on Joplin and determined the cause of death to be a heroin overdose, possibly compounded by alcohol. John Byron Cook believed that Joplin had been given heroin that was much more potent than what she and other LA heroin users had received in previous occasions, and it was indicated by overdoses of several of her dealers' other customers during the same weekend. Her death was ruled accidental. Gone way too soon. Her legacy still lives on. In fact, her posthumous album, Pearl, released in 1971, was her biggest album to this date and went 4 times multi-platinum. Now, it's time for my opinion. Janis Joplin is one of the coldest blues singers of all time. What makes her dope to me is the fact that her voice doesn't really match her face and body. I mean, if she wasn't famous and she was walking down the street, I definitely would not expect her singing voice to sound like it does. She had so much soul, those crazy runs, in that stage presence. She truly was gone way too soon. I believe that Janis Joplin was around today, she would still be relevant, for sure. But I don't know if it would be in the same capacity. I'm not sure that she would really like the culture shift in music and the lack of substance that it is now. But at the same time, I do think that she would celebrate independent artists and their creativity. Was she one of the best blues singers of all time? Question mark. That's a matter of personal preference. And in my opinion, I feel like we didn't really get a chance to hear all the great blues singers in that time. But you could argue, definitely you could argue that she's one of the best. So, the question I have for you is, who should we cover next? Let me know in the comments below. Be back here every single day at noon. And do me a favor. Hit that like button, sub button, bell button, 'cause you can ring my bell.